Okay, so what are you saying, people, and welcome back to your favorite YouTube channel. So today, guys, like always, in the weekly analysis for you on the screen are the pairs that we'll be analyzing today, but make sure you stay to the end of the video because I do have a bonus pair in store. But yeah, guys, didn't take any trades again this week. The market conditions haven't been too good, to be honest. At the start of the year, I've seen a lot of choppiness across the board, so nothing has really set up. There was one opportunity which I did back out of on NZD CAD, which we'll touch on as we get to that that pair as we go through the analysis for the week, which I did decide not to take in the end, and I'll explain why. But besides from that, the market hasn't been really favorable, but things are setting up as you'll see across the board. But I'll start with DXY really quick, just to mention how the dollar is shaping up. So I've been talking about the DXY a lot. Conditions haven't been particularly good for this one. We did see a nice reaction when we did come in to the low of the range, so I'm kind of boxing off the price action for DXY. I'm looking at this as a big fake out to the upside, so the break here and the break down here is a big fake out to the downside. So DXY for the past kind of year, 2023 coming to 2024, we've just been respecting the high and low of the range besides the two fake outs there. So essentially for dollar, I'm looking for a little bit more upside for us to come back into this area here, and then the sells do look good from this particular area, and I'll show you the level on Euro USD which I'm looking to buy from. But overall, dollar's just been ranging, and if you go into the 4H time frame, you can see we've had a nice move, consolidation, fairly nice move, more consolidation. So it's been box price action really for quite a period of time here for dollar, which hasn't really done me wonders with the dollar pairs. Hasn't really set anything up, as we'll see as we go through them. But I'm hoping we could see a little bit more dollar strength this week or next week, and then possibly a push into 104, 104, 500, which could provide some really nice sells all the way back down. That is the move I'm kind of looking for dollar. So if you go back to Euro USD, I'm looking for a similar move on this market. If we can see a move to the downside back into 107, so this level here, then I'll be looking for some longer-term buy opportunities back to the upside into the same level of resistance, which again I have touched upon this move a few times. So, and again, it hasn't changed. I've been talking about this move since the beginning of the year, and it's still slowly starting to come into fruition. There's still a long way to go before we start looking for buys there, but there is an area I have marked out here where potentially the market could see move to the upside. Again, this is my analysis. It doesn't always happen as I speak it. Sometimes little differences, I have to react and adapt. We could see the market print in a higher low here and a move to the upside from this area. We have thrown a lot of wicks here on the daily chart. Market is starting to stall. Potentially we could see a move to the upside sooner than expected. So if we do start breaking structure to the upside, it could be a nice breaking retest for some buys. And if I am going to look to long from this area here, I do need to see that break of structure, because right now, as we've seen with dollar, we've got consolidation, impulse, consolidation. We're kind of seeing that with Euro USD as well. So I need to see price break structure, retest, and then I will consider looking to long Euro USD, and I'll debate on the risk reward how things set up. But if I'm going to long from this area here, then I do need to see that break of structure of 1.09200, and then I can look for some longs back into 1.105. Or better yet, if we can break to the downside, I'll look for some entry signals around this zone here. Again, looking for a very similar move to the upside all the way to the high of the range, which will be again 1.105-ish, which are much better risk reward. So this is kind of how I'm looking for Euro USD setup. Either we break structure from where we are right now and kind of break out that range, or we break to the downside and come back into 1.07 into that daily level, and then again look for buys. But this is the plan for Euro USD. So keep an eye on the break of structure. If we do get a break above that high, we can look for a retest of that at 1.09200. Or if we do break lower, 1.07 looks like a great place for some buys. And again, same targets back to the high of the range at 1.105. So let's see if we can get some buys next week for Euro. Okay, so moving on to dollar yen. So dollar yen still looking for more upside. Nothing's really changed coming into next week. All we saw this week was pretty much just consolidation. As we can see, this is pretty much all the price action we had this week, just up, down, bit of a fake to the downside, but hasn't really amounted to much. And we're still looking for a push into 150. We well and truly broke through that 145 level of resistance. So we're looking for price to come back into the highs there at 150, and a great place to look for some buying opportunities would be on a retest of 146, which would be this level here, which we kind of just missed this week. We did spike lower, but it didn't really come back to retest that zone. There's a possibility we could have one more push to the downside because we are quite corrective with this bullish move here. As you can see, we're not really seeing too much momentum, so there is a chance we could have one more push to the downside, actually come back and test 146, and that could provide some really nice swing opportunities back to 150. And like I said, I'm going to look to see what we can do at 150 because there could be some nice sells to come straight back down again. So I'll keep an eye on both opportunities, but at the moment we're kind of in the middle of nowhere, so I'm not looking to do anything with the current price action. There could be some opportunities on the breaking retest of the high, so if we don't get pushed down to 146, keep an eye on 148,700, we'll call it, on the breaking retest. That for me, I'm not really too interested. Risk reward doesn't look too great. It's a little bit too high up. It's a little bit too close to 150. If I'm going to get into any buys, I need price to pull back a lot further into 146. But 150 is where I'm looking for price to go, and then some sells back down again. So keep an eye on 146 if you do get breaking retest, or the breaking retest of the high, and then looking for 150 and some sells back down again. So this is the plan next week for dollar yen. Okay, so moving on to dollar CAD. So dollar CAD, again, nothing really changed with this one. Another dollar pair, which again is consolidating. As we can see, not a lot of movement this week. Still looking for the same move back down to the low of the range. If we go to the weekly chart, you can see we've been consolidating very, very well, and we have now come into an area where we could be seeing some sellers stepping into the market, and we've already seen some evidence that there are some sellers coming back into the market. You see those wicks there to the upside. If we get rid of all the drawings, some wicks there to the upside. So I'm looking for a move back down into the low of the range, back to 1.325 into the lows here. So that is the plan next week for dollar CAD. But for some actual selling opportunities, we do need to start breaking through this low here at 1.34200. So what I'm looking for next week for dollar CAD is a break through this area, a retest, and that's what I'll be confident for some selling opportunities. Again, the conditions for dollar CAD not great since we are trading inside a bigger range. It's not like the higher time frames are trending very, very well. We are fluctuating a lot, so I'm not expecting the best outcomes with these positions. If we do catch a nice trade, good, but if there is a loss or the market starts to chop around a little bit more, you know, it is expected because of the higher time frames. But if we do see a strong break of the range, a retest the low, that looks like a good opportunity to me, and the risk reward looks pretty good back into the low of the range, 1.325. So that will be the opportunity I'll keep an eye on for dollar CAD. I do like the sell opportunity here, but as long as we stay in that range, again, I don't want to touch the pair. Let's break through, catch a retest, then look for some sells on 1.34200, back down to 1.32500. So that'll be the plan next week for dollar CAD. Okay, so on to Euro Pound. So Euro Pound, I still don't like the price action, but I'm starting to warm towards it. I'm seeing some evidence that we could be forming a larger bearish trend here, but I do want to see these lows being taken out. 0.85, if you can really take out the lows there, a nice move to the downside, then the next pullback, I'll be very keen to look for shorts. And I do think we can get some really nice high probability trades back down to some lows, 0.835, 0.83. So I do like what I'm seeing with Euro Pound, but I still got some work to do, which is to take out these lows and of course pull back. There could nonetheless be some buying opportunities coming back into the support level. Again, we have taken out some lows here, coming back into a big support. We did see a nice reaction. There's a chance we could see something like this happen for Euro Pound. Am I interested in the buys? No, not really. As we can see, overall conditions are still very sideways, still very choppy. Not really my forte. I'm looking for trending conditions, trending markets. Hence why I want to see price break lower, take out these lows, and then pull back. At least I've got a nice, confident bearish trend I can work with. So if you're just looking for key levels and looking to trade reactions, this could be a nice place to look for some opportunities, for some longs. I would wait for price to come a little bit further, near enough to 0.85 big spike level. Could be seeing a reaction close to that area, and again waiting for your breaker structure before looking to get into any longs, because at the moment we're still constantly pushing to the downside. But if you can start shifting the structure, there could be some nice buys back up again, and I'll keep an eye for some levels for targets, aka that prior low there. There's a nice brief area of support resistance around here as well, and possibly even 0.862, which is those lows, but I wouldn't be too overly confident pushing the trade too far, because again the conditions are very choppy most of the time. Especially in these conditions, you're going to see price push back and forth, and you could be sitting in some nice comfortable profit, and then suddenly price just reverses and takes you out break even. These are the type of conditions where you get those kind of back and forth movements a lot. So yeah, euro pound 0.85 buys do look good, coming to a big level, seeing a big move to the upside previously from this area. Could see a nice bounce. The market does look quite tired as well, so there's a chance we could see a bounce. So keep an eye out for a shift in structure and some buys from 0.85, and targets 0.855 makes sense, and also 0.858 as well. So keep an eye out for some buys for euro pound next week. Okay, so over to Aussie dollar. So Aussie dollar, there's still an opportunity I'm looking at for this pair. Not the best conditions, but I can still make sense of it. As we can see, the bearish trend still intact, still seeing lower lows and lower highs. As of late, the bearish trend is starting to run out of juice, as we can see with the high low printed there and quite steep pullback. So overall, bearish bias is still intact, but it's definitely, if I do get to any shorts, I'm not going to be looking for any major swing lows, because there are some signs that the trend is starting to run out of juice. Maybe you might see a bigger reversal come into play. So I've highlighted a few areas here for Aussie dollar. Well, a few, I mean two. This area here and this area here. So looking for sells up here and buys down here. This is a big level of support. We've seen a lot of rejection with these buys here. I would be very conservative with the targets. Again, this is not the conditions where you want to push buys too far, because at the moment resistance is still holding, price is still forming lower lows and lower highs on the grand scheme of things. So looking for buys in these areas are good. We're seeing a lot of rejection from here, a lot of rejection there as well. Could see a nice bounce, but I'm not expecting price to fly to the moon, at least from a trend perspective. Obviously it could, but you want to be taking your profits a little bit more earlier. However, the shorts do look good for a move back down. At the moment, again, all we've had is just basic consolidation at this area. Another pair which has just been sideways for quite a while. So now I'm looking for us to see if we can break the high of the consolidation, test this level here, and I do like the shorts back down again, or of course break to the downside and then give us a reversal for a move back up again. I do prefer the shorts because it is in line with the higher time frame, so I am more biased to selling Aussie dollar, but if the buys do look good, I won't shy away as well. So this is what I'm looking at for Aussie dollar. If you can break higher, test 0.66400, or if you do break lower, keep an eye at 0.65. There could be some nice buys down at this zone to take back up again. And with targets, I'll either look at the low of the range there, the high of the range, or the high there, depending if we did break and have a retest first. But nonetheless, this is what I'm focused on for Aussie dollar. I do like what I'm seeing here. Nice levels above us, nice levels below us. Right now, kind of just doing nothing, sideways in the middle of nowhere really. So I need price to break higher, either to 0.66400 or break lower into 0.65, and then we can start looking for some opportunities at those areas. So that remains the plan for next week for Aussie dollar. Okay, so on to NZD CAD. So there was a setup here which I did decide not to take on the retest of this consolidation, which I was talking about coming into the week on the retest of this level here. Nice consolidation, break and retest. That was the short I was talking about. However, I did decide not to take the trade because of this level here. There was a strong level of resistance. We had an aggressive sell-off, giving us this double bottom, which price broke through, giving us that neckline. So I was conflicted because although we had a nice break and retest of the consolidation, we also had this neckline of the double bottom pattern. So I was conflicted whether the double bottom neckline was going to win and we can see price continue higher, or the break and retest was going to win and we're going to move lower. I couldn't really decide if it was clear enough for me to take the sells, despite the fact we had that resistance level which will be turned support, which price was of course reacting bullish from that level. I didn't decide it was overwhelmingly bearish, and that's kind of how I trade. I do trade with a lot of discretion. The way I trade is pretty simple, looking at levels, market structure, high time frame analysis, but there's always a reason why you shouldn't take a trade. There's always a reason why a trade could fail. And when I want to take my trade, I want to make sure that there's an overwhelming amount of confluence in my direction or in my corner when I do take my trades. And sometimes there's situations where it's a bit more 50-50 or 60-40 and it doesn't look quite overwhelmingly in my favor, and that's what happened with NZD CAD. So I did decide not to take the position. If I did take the position, we'll be running some nice profit now, but again, trading is all could, should, would. yeah, you'll get you lost if you think like that. So I decided not to take the trade. It had good reasons, and again, I don't want to validate myself by the outcome of the trade either. So if I was right and price started to shoot for the moon, I don't want to validate myself because I was right, or again, if I was wrong and price keeps melting, I don't want to say I should have took the trade. There's a valid reason why I didn't take it, and as a result, I did not take the trade. But if price could continue to develop and start to break structure, break through these lows here, then the shorts become a lot more clearer, because if we do break underneath this level here and break through the lows, then we've actually well and truly broken through that kind of resistance level, that support level, and the shorts become a lot clearer. And I would be looking for that trend just to continue back down to the low of the bearish trend on the higher time frames, back down to 0.79700. Or again, there are some nice targets as well. Don't need to push it all the way down to the level there. There are some nice areas here around 0.81, which makes sense as well. But for me, looking to push my trades a little bit further this year, I may look to take it back to the low depending on how the setup looks. But what I'm looking for next week for NZD-CAD is well and truly break the low, break below the level there as well, and then kind of, you know, we hit two birds with one stone. And then I can be looking for pullbacks and a retest of that level, and then look for some shorts to the downside. And this looks like a really good opportunity. Again, simply just looking for the continuation of the bearish trend on a retest of the low. And at that point, we've got this to our backs, and it adds a little bit more confidence to the trade. And this I will be happy to take. There is no upper level which I would be conflicted by with. So looking at this for NZD-CAD next week, keep an eye on the break of 0.81700. Of course, there's still a chance we could double bottom this and actually continue higher. So if that's the case, I'm not really interested with the sells anymore. But if we can break for the low, we're seeing some nice momentum. Let's see if it can continue breaking. We test the low there, and some shorts back down to 0.79700 roughly. So that's the plan next week for NZD-CAD. Okay, so over to pound NZD. So looking for shorts for this one. We still haven't broken through the structure here. This is our swing high. So we've got swing high over there, swing low, swing high, swing low. As long as we don't take out 2.1, still looking for sells for a move to the downside. I'm liking the fact that we are starting to stall a little bit on the weekly chart. We had a pretty strong candle last week, but again, this candle was still bullish, but it did provide us a nice wick to the upside. The market is holding onto this area here of resistance on the weekly chart here. So we're seeing some signs of the market starting to tire, starting to exhaust, and we could be looking at toppling over. So I'm still looking for a big swing to the downside into these lows. Let me go to the daily chart, into these lows, and potentially these lows here as well. So I do still fancy that move down, as long as we don't break structure. If we break structure, and then that does change everything pretty much. But if we do see a strong move to the downside, a strong lower high form, I will be happy with a break me test of this low. Then we can look for some shorts. Again, don't necessarily have to push the trade very far to, you know, hit a good trade. Don't necessarily need to push it all the way down to these lows. I'll make the decision when I do take the position, if it forms how I want it to do so. If I'm going to look for an extended move down to these lows, or look at taking my profit a little bit sooner. There is a big level here which I've been talking about, of support and resistance, which we've seen a lot of rejection at, which would make a lot of sense to take your profit there and kind of call it a day. But depending how things set, I may look to push things further, because I'm really looking to take advantage of these bigger moves in the higher time frames and try and make my trades work harder for me. So I'll be keeping an eye on this big swing back to the lows, but there is a few places where you can take your profit before that, so keep an eye at that for yourselves. But looking for something like this for pound NZD, we are starting to form some lower highs. Just need a strong break of structure, catch the next one. Then looking for some shorts all the way back down to 2.01. So that's the plan next week for pound NZD. Okay, so over to CAD Yen. So for this one, still looking for push into 111. We're not too far away from that area as of right now. Still looking for a bit more upside. We were talking about the breaking retest of this high here, which we did see. Price kind of tagged it, came back again, wicked below a little bit, but now it's looking pretty strong. So I'm not really seeing too much opportunities now for CAD Yen until we get back to 111. If the market was kind enough to come back and retest that area, then that is not a bad place to pick up some longs and look for breaking retest of this area and some buys back to 111, of course. I'm not too sure about the breaking retest of the high. I'm not seeing too much room for that Maybe in the lower time frames, it makes a bit more sense in terms of the risk reward, but I think just a little bit too close back to the highs for my liking. But yeah, for CAD-Gen, everything is still looking bullish. Of course, we've broken through that 108 level a long time ago, and the market is still pretty consistent with these higher highs and higher lows. So anticipating of the higher low forming and a push to 111, which is at the highs there, and then we can see how price reacts. If we break through or we reject the level, then we can make decisions later on. But for now, 111 is looking the most likely. So in terms of opportunities to get into the trade, into the move, you do want to see a pullback, retesting the high again. That's the most logical place to get in. We may look for a double bottom, stop loss below the low there, and some targets back to 111, and the risk reward looks pretty good as well, depending on your entry. So yeah, CAD-Gen still a bit more upside left in the tank, according to my analysis. Let's see if we can get some pullbacks beforehand, but yeah, still looking at push to 111 next week. Okay, so on to pound USD. So price for this one has been very, very rubbish, I must say. I'm still looking for the same move, which I think I was talking about at the start of the year. My bias has not changed as long as we've been in that consolidation. Don't really want to get involved, just very choppy, very indecisive, not seeing much conviction. So I'm kind of just staying on the sidelines for pound USD. However, I do like the opportunity if you do break lower. If you do break low for the range, I'm liking the retest of the low and some shorts back into this daily level here, which I've been talking about, just underneath 1.245, and we're looking for a push into that level. However, until we see the breakout, I can't really do too much. You can see price action in there. It's just very, very choppy. It looks like we potentially could be seeing a third lower high at this area. I'm not entirely convinced, to be honest. Until we get the break of the range, then of course I'll be very convinced at that point. But for now, this is just hectic price action. So it looks like we are performing a lower high. I say that because price is still very, very choppy going up, still very corrected, which normally implies we are likely to push lower, but we'll see. We're in a range right now. So I'm not going to look too much into price action until we get the break of 1.26. Then I'll be more than happy to look for some retests on the low of the range, and from then I'll be looking for my entries and placing my stop loss above some highs and then targeting 1.245. So this selling opportunity looks very, very good quality. Just need to see the breakout. So keep an eye on that for pound USD. Some shorts to the downside, breaking retest of 1.26, back down to 1.245 next week. Okay, so on to pound CAD. So pound CAD, I'm looking at a similar move as to with pound USD, which is a move down. They're both kind of correlated pairs. They do make very similar moves, so it is a good confidence that they're both kind of looking like they're about to turn bearish, or at least giving us signs that they might be turning bearish. For pound CAD, we've been printing these successive lower highs here, with one over there, second over here, third and a fourth. As you can see, we've come back into the trend line there, respected it quite well, and we're still just about holding on to that resistance level there as well. So what essentially I'm looking for pound CAD going into next week is to see if we can break through the structure here. The market is still printing a lot of higher lows here, so as long as we remain doing that, I'm not interested in selling just yet. But if you can start breaking lower, take out some of these lows here, get a break and retest somewhere. Not too decided where I'm looking for the break and retest. That way, as the market develops, we might consolidate for a little bit, then drop, and then I'll retest the consolidation. So that will come with as price prints some more information. But essentially what I'm looking for is break structure, retest of a low somewhere, then some shorts back to 1.685. So that's essentially what I'm looking at for pound CAD. Very simple opportunity. Market showing us a lot of failure to push higher, successive lower highs, a lot of resistance we're holding on to. If we can break structure, then it's a clear sign that the market is likely to head lower, then suddenly just push higher. So looking for some shorts around 1.71, back down to 1.685 for pound CAD next week. Okay, so for pound yen, I'm still not really interested in pound yen because I'm still looking for shorts, but the market is still bullish. We have just about pinched the highs there. We are failing to break through the highs and continue higher. So the market is clearly exhausted, it's clearly tired. You can see how frequent the pullbacks are, how aggressive the pullbacks are as well for pound yen. So it's definitely a market which is still bullish because we're creating higher highs and higher lows, but definitely a market which is running out of steam, hence why I'm looking for some counter trend opportunities. However, we're not seeing any bearish structure forming in the full H time frame. We are seeing the market consolidate, starting to fail a little bit. So there is some evidence that, again, even on the lower time frames, we're starting to run out of juice a little bit. But I do need to see price starting to break structure, starting to print some lower lows and lower highs, and then I'll look for a retest somewhere to then short to the downside. And we could be looking for a push all the way down to 180, which should probably give us some really nice risk to reward opportunities if we were to see such a move. But at the moment, I need something like this to form with pound yen. Strong break of consolidation, some lower lows and lower highs, and then I can look for a retest somewhere, and then some shorts to 180. Possibly, not too sure if I'll push the trade that far. But it really does depend how everything sets up, how the breaking retest sets up, how much momentum, how much conviction there is in the bearish structure. If it's just kind of a half-hearted bearish structure, I may not even choose to trade it, because again, it's still counter trend, so I want to see real conviction. If there's a lot of momentum like we saw with the previous down move, really strong momentum there for the yen pairs, then I might be inclined to push it to 180. It really does depend on how things set up. At the moment, we could still see even this happen to the upside, break retest of the high, and the market could still push up another 100, 200 pips if it wanted to, which is not really an opportunity I'm interested in, but it is a possibility as well. So I need to see how things shape up. Still a little bit in the dark with pound yen, but as we get more information, as more price prints, then I can be clearer with the opportunity I'm looking for. But looking for something like this for pound yen. So let's see if we can get some shorts for next week. Okay, so onto gold. So gold's still trading from that larger high time frame level, as we can see here. Big level of resistance. Market is still rejecting that area, so I'm still bearish bias on gold, still looking for a move down as long as we keep rejecting that level, which so far we are doing. But we are not seeing much conviction in the bearish structure, which is why I'm not really too focused on gold. If we're seeing a lot of conviction and healthy bearish structure, I would be looking for some selling opportunities. But you can see with the movement here, we're very corrective on our way down, which is not giving me too much confidence. Here was pretty nice, but the pullback has been very choppy as well, and overall the structure is just quite corrective and moving in a bearish channel here. So I'm not really too convinced with the bearish structure here for gold, but nonetheless we are still printing low lows and low highs. And again, I'm still looking for a move to the downside, since again we are still rejecting that higher time frame level. So the targets still remain at 1980. It's just I can see better opportunities elsewhere, and I'm not quite convinced with gold, so I'm sitting on my hands with this one. But if I was looking to trade it, I would want to be seeing at least another push back to the highs. Let's see if we can tag the trend line again and then find some shorts from up there, because right now it's kind of just very choppy in this area. We consolidated, broke the consolidation, but now also we create another consolidation as well just below it here. So price action for me is very poor. At least if we do push back to the highs near 2035, we've got a much safer stop loss coming back to the trend line. And if the market is going to be forming another lower high in comparison to this high over here to move down, we're pretty much catching the top of it, of where we expect it to be printed. So if the market does go and break through that area and take the stop loss, it's most likely that price is going to push up higher anyway. So it's a much safer place to look to short closer to this level as possible, just away from all the choppiness and the indecisiveness. And then we can look for some shorts with a much better risk reward as well. So it's almost like a win-win if we look to short a little bit higher from where current price is. And again, don't necessarily need to push price all the way back down to 1980. There is this level here at 2003, 2004, which makes for a good level of support to target as well, back into the swing low. So that's up to you how far you want to push your trades and how you're going to manage them. But in terms of entries and location, where it makes sense, this level there does to me. So keep an eye out for that if you're interested with shorting gold. But yeah, for me, I was still on the sidelines, but still looking for a move to the downside back to 1980 for gold. Okay, so over to Bitcoin. So Bitcoin, we had a nice move to the downside this week, but price has pulled back. I know the weekly candle hasn't closed yet, but it is looking like a big wick to the downside. Now, I was talking about this area here of supply resistance, which the market did reject quite heavily. I said this could be the last major pullback we have for Bitcoin before we do have a bigger run to the highs, because if price does break through 47k this area, I don't see much stopping price until we get back to the highs there at 65 here. So this for me is a very, very important area. If the market is going to have a big pullback, let's say back down to 34, 35 or even 30k and retest the highs here, this is where most likely it's going to happen. Of course, I don't have a fortune cookie with me, but according to my analysis, that looks what the most likely area where we can see retracement from is this 47k. However, we just had a move to the downside this week, which hasn't really amounted to much and left behind a big wick to the downside. And now already seeing some signs that strong bullish momentum is coming back into the market. So I do think buys do look good here on the low time frames, particularly the 4H back for a move to the upside. I'm not too sure if I would look to swing the trade that far. Overall, the market structure is still very, very choppy. So I'll still keep an eye on this area here for some take profits. But I wouldn't be surprised if the market does just start to run higher. Could be a situation where you leave some to run and close most of your profit at the resistance, or vice versa, depending how you want to manage it. But nonetheless, this does look like a nice place for some buys. Strong move to the upside, bullish structure coming back into the play, looking for a correction and a continuation. I think that looks like a really nice opportunity there on the 4H. You can even enter on the lower time frames as well. But depending how far we go, that will be up to Bitcoin. And like I said, if you do break through 47k, I think it's back to the highs for Bitcoin and maybe higher as well. But yeah, that's kind of what I'm looking at for Bitcoin. I'm still liking these areas here, 35, 30k. There's still a chance we could turn around and have those bigger pullbacks into these areas and then buy back up. But if the market wishes to turn bullish now and keeps pushing, then some pullbacks back into 40k, 4,500 make the most sense. So definitely keep an eye on that level. But that's kind of my outlook going into next week for Bitcoin. Okay, so on to the bonus pair, which again is Pound CHF for the second week running. Now, I was talking about this level here, 1.105 last week, and I said it was a big level of support and resistance. If the market does reject this area, there's a good chance we'll form a lower high for another swing to the downside. You can see the market is showing us a lot of bearish structure here, lower lows and lower highs. Recently, we had this nice pullback to the upside, retesting a big level. I do think this is a good place where a lower high could form, and we could see another move back down to 1.07 into the swing low. So that's the move I'm looking for Pound CHF, a swing back here. And now fast forward a week, so coming into this week, we can see some signs that bearish structure is coming into play, some lower lows and lower highs as well. So now this is looking really, really good to start looking to short. I would like to see the market kind of pull down a little bit further, but then I will be looking for a retest of these lows here, or even a retest of the high there to then short. And again, starting to look for a big swing trade back down to the lows here at 1.07. So again, if we can get a nice setup here, entry on the hourly time frame, could be looking at a really, really good risk reward, 1 to 5, 1 to 6, potentially even further, depending on how I get my entry and my stop loss. But risk reward looking very, very tidy into the lows here, and probability is very good as well. Higher time frames, monthly, weekly, daily, 4H, everything is pointing down. So we know that the overall confluence, the overall kind of broader picture, broader trend is in our favor. The wind is in our sails. So there's a good chance that this trade does really get going. And as long as we don't go and break structure, which is this area here, 1.115, I'm still going to be looking to sell, even if price does go a little bit higher as well. So keep an eye on some sales for Pound CHF. Really good opportunity, high time frames. Really agree with this one now. It looks like the lower time frames have started to agree with this newfound bearish structure. Let's see if we can build up on that and take some sales accordingly. So keep an eye out for Pound CHF sales next week. But yeah, guys, that does take us to the end of the analysis. If you have enjoyed it, found it useful, found it entertaining, informative, please be sure to leave a like on the video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already, and hit the bell so you don't miss out on any streams or uploads in the future. Let me know in the comment section any pairs you're looking at for next week. Please do let me know. I'm interested to see what you guys are looking at. I will create my own watch list as well for the Telegram, so make sure you are part of that in the description down below. Check it out. Nonetheless, guys, have a fantastic weekend, and I'll catch you all in the next one.